Jeff Lebby indebted to Brent Venables.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm John Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. This is Jay Smith. You can follow him on Twitter at Unfair Sports. The show is at Locked On Sooners. And again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We've been covering everything from SEC Media Days. The Oklahoma Sooners had their turn at the podium on Tuesday, but Jeff Lebby, now head coach at Mississippi State, took his turn in front of the media and had some very glowing things to say about Brent Venables. Let's just go through a few of these quotes here real quick, Jay. One that stood out that was really notable was, I think as much as anything, it's still trying like heck to protect the room, addressing the needs that's on your roster immediately while making sure you're getting the right people at the same time, which is, easy to say and hard to do. He, Brent Venables, was passionate about that, which was incredible for me. Another one that was really intriguing here. It was a great experience for me being able to do it from year one to year two and being this great coordinator, watching Brent Venables, who had an incredible amount of success and being able to get into that head coaching chair and find ways to keep getting better. Last one here, and then I'm going to let Jay talk about it. It was all about what's best for the program. It's all about what's best for the people inside our room. As consistent of a leader and a man as there is, I believe that in all of college football. Indebted to him forever for giving me that. Speaking towards the opportunity that he got as the offensive coordinator at his alma mater at the Oklahoma Sooners. Jay, glowing remarks from Jeff Lebby, and you didn't necessarily expect to hear anything different, but I think that quote where it's just as consistent as a head coach and someone who really, really valued protecting the locker room.
Yeah, saying he's a consistent as a coach as well as a person. So you know what you're going to get out of Brent Venables, and everybody that knows him and has talked about him always raves about, and even recruits rave about just how consistent of a person he is. He's genuine. Genuine is always the word used by everybody. And I love how Lebby pointed out that, he got the opportunity to watch Venables become a head coach for the first time and work his way through the first year and the second year, which led perfectly into the recruiting statement of protecting the locker room like heck. And that was the most important thing. And to me, that has always been the key thing about the recruiting classes and the type of players that Oklahoma goes after, and the things I've always preached even on my own channel about what you should pay attention to when Oklahoma goes after certain players, right? We know that there's some big fish they go after, and they don't catch all of them because it's impossible. That's not something. Heck, Alabama, as great as they've done, they can't catch every big fish. But there are certain players that are desired, and you see them going after them, and they have that philosophy. The locker room is important. Meshing well in the locker room is critical. They want to make sure they get the best players possible while at the same time protecting how the locker room runs. And so Lebby pointing out that that's a lesson he learned there, that he's most likely going to apply to Mississippi State to try to get them back on track. Pretty high praise you would give to Brent Venables, especially being that he's a first-time head coach. That's something that that Lebby gravitated to, and I think that that's going to be something that's going to help him with his success moving forward. Yeah,
and given what Oklahoma was coming out of the Lincoln Riley era, some of the stuff that happened in 2020 into 2021 with, like Trajan Bridges and Seth McGowan and Mikey Henderson, a lot of that stuff, there was a bit of kind of, I don't want to say locker room repairing that had to happen, but creating an emphasis on having the right people in place from, a leadership perspective, from your assistant coaches, but all the way down to, the last man on the roster, just making sure that everybody was going to come in and be about the business, and the business of football, that is, not the business of anything else that you want to make it about.
Right.
And I think that's what Brent Venables, and that's kind of where he's got this thing going in a really, really good direction. Yes, great defensive mind, but there's a lot of great defensive minds out there that can't build a culture.
Yeah, we've seen that.
A really strong human, got great character, but they can't coach. I hate to say it, but I think we got the total package in a head coach.
Oh, we did. We won the quote unquote genetic lottery in picking our head coaches, right? We got a coach that has been here before, that loved being here, and he purposely waited for specific jobs to come open before he would make a decision to even become a head coach. This was one of those jobs that the moment it was open, you know that he picked up the phone and called Joe Castiglione himself and said, "Hey man, just let me know if it's a possibility, because I'm totally interested." Kidding on that, but at the same time, you know, Joe had Brent Venables in mind the minute that opportunity was available. And yeah, we lucked out, man. It's funny because I saw on social media from a few of our rivals, like I saw a couple of Texas fans say this. I even saw some from Oklahoma State. They're like, yeah, the more and more I hear Venables talk, the more I actually like the guy. And I feel horrible saying that because, of course, I'm a rival, right? He wears the wrong colors, but dude's likable, right? He's someone that people genuinely like, coaches genuinely like, recruits genuinely like, and that's something that we just lucked out with, man. We're blessed for that.
Yeah, and families, moms, dads, sisters, brothers, everybody seems to like Brent Venables. That's the stuff you hear from everyone, is that the culture just feels different at Oklahoma. It feels like a family affair, and what's impressive about that is not only is Brent Venables about that, but he's gotten his entire coaching staff bought into that. He's gotten his team bought into that too. So when a recruit comes to campus and Daniel Akinkunmi, a true freshman, is hosting him for his official visit, he's also bought into that culture, bought into that process, bought into that belief system as well. So what Jeff Lebby's talking about is protecting the room. It's, hey, everybody matters. Everybody has a role to play in protecting the room and putting and establishing our culture. It's not just for the leaders. It's not just for the coaching staff. It's down to even the true freshmen. You have a part to play in making sure that we maintain the culture that we're setting forth here.
Yeah, building a roster is tough, right? You've got 100+ kids. You've got to figure out and make sure that personalities in some capacity actually mesh. And I like how Lebby pointed out that, look, I got to watch him build this. He walked in, of course, into a situation, and Venables mentioned it, 74, scholarship kids were gone within the first, 13 months. So he was really starting from scratch, and he's broke it down to the studs, as he mentioned in his introductory speech, that he had to bring it back to the studs, and we're going to see what we've got and work from there. And so Lebby seeing that break down and build back up, going from the 6-7 season to a 10-3 season. Now Lebby has something a kind of a blueprint that he can leverage there at Mississippi State. He can go in there, break it down to the studs. People would understand if it's not the perfect season after kind of the unfortunateness that happened there to make the job even available. It's going to be able to break it down to the studs, see what he's got, and then rebuild it back up. And if he follows that blueprint the way that Venables did it and stays as consistent as Venables is as a person as well as a coach, there's a good chance he can get Mississippi State back to being, I don't know if he can get back to Dak Prescott era, but hey, that's an Orange Bowl. I mean, you can't sleep on that. That's some good stuff. But there's a good opportunity for him to get them to a very nice position in the SEC.
Yeah, there comes a point where you just want to get bowl eligible on a regular basis and build from there, right? And that's kind of where they need to get to. And kind of last thing on this is that I think regardless of how you felt about some of the play calling, some of the decision making, some of the personnel deployment at times, Jeff Lebby was an important part of getting this thing restarted, right? Mm-hmm. You get him in, you get Dillon Gabriel. Almost not long after that, after Caleb Williams transfers out, Dillon Gabriel comes in. Dillon Gabriel doesn't come to Oklahoma if Jeff Lebby's not at Oklahoma.
Agreed.
So who knows what your quarterback situation would have looked like. You would have gotten a good offensive coordinator because you're Oklahoma, but who knows exactly what the quarterback situation would have looked like. And again, you had a really good offense for the 2 years that he was here. Not perfect, but really, really good. So it was a good place to be. And again, it led to a Jackson Arnold commitment, even though a lot of that is due to Brent Venables as well. But I mean, Lebby and Arnold had to hit it off too, because there's a chance that Lebby could have been here for Arnold as the starting quarterback. So that had to matter as well. So for all of the, criticism that even I've hurled Jeff Lebby's way at times for some of the play calling decisions and personnel deployment, he was an important part of getting this thing restarted and helping to kind of set the foundation as Oklahoma goes into the SEC. Some guys that are also foundational to going into the SEC, Billy Bowman, one of Oklahoma's leaders that was down at SEC Media Days. He had some praise for his young safeties in the room. We'll talk about that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
So, I mean, with the college season coming up, in 5 weeks, it's time to start really looking at the numbers and deciding if we want to put some bets in. And luckily, FanDuel's got us taken care of. Right now, Oklahoma's sitting at plus 7,000 to win the college football playoff championship. Might be worth it at the numbers, but I don't know. But outside of that, y'all know I love sports and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But the playoffs are winding down. We've got Olympics, but we're getting fewer games. And because of that, the sports aren't sporting like we want them to. But FanDuel is going to let me, keep going with my sports whenever I want. And all I have to do is open up the app, dream up the bet that I want, and of course, do whatever I want in whatever mood I'm in that moment. Baseball is now going to be starting back up with the All-Star game being done. And this summer, FanDuel is going to be hooking up all of our customers with a boost or a bonus. That is right. Daily, they're going to hook us all up. So there's something for everybody every day, all summer long. So head over to the FanDuel.com and make the most of the out of the summer. And FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go check out the Locked On College Football Podcast with our guy Spencer McLaughlin. Dude's doing a great job over there. Just hit a big milestone on YouTube. So go check it out. He's doing fantastic work covering all the angles from conference realignment to recruiting to what's happening in the SEC, ACC, the new look Big Ten, what's going on with the remaining Pac-2 schools and the Mountain West over there. He's got all the angles covered. Check it out. Locked On College Football for your second listen of the day. Billy Bowman took to the stage at SEC Media Days and had some really poignant things to say about a lot of different things. And we haven't gotten a chance to touch on all of them, but at some point we will. But I want to go this way right now. The safety room is considered one of the deepest positions and most talented positions on the team heading into 2024. And Bowman was very willing to heap some praise upon these younger safeties. Peyton Bowen, you asked him, who's a guy that you're bringing along that you think has a chance to be elite? And his answer pretty quickly was Peyton Bowen. He was asked about another guy, Robert Spears-Jennings, and the quote, I want to read it exactly right here. He said, "Be prepared for seeing a lot of number 3. He'll be all over the field for us." And this is a kid, the in-state 4-star prospect that was out of the 2022 recruiting cycle that I really feel like is about to have a breakout season in Robert Spears-Jennings.
Yeah, Robert Spears-Jennings, man, Tulsa boy, exciting to see that he has definitely rose up, right? I know that he dealt with a little bit of injuries or whatnot, but now it appears that he's going to take over that spot at free safety. He's got a lot more game close to the end of the season, and I think he's got it locked down. And so hearing Billy Bowman really praise him as well as Peyton Bowen, we knew that he was going to give Peyton praise. He's done that over the last year and talked about just how great of just a football player he is, instinctive and everything. Those two are going to be potentially the future, right? When Billy's gone, if Robert decides to come back for one more year, you'll have a combination of him and Peyton Bowen out there really running things, and then the other young bulls that's in the room. And so I had to ask him that question, and when he kind of broke down the Peyton Bowen and how he just needs to get it to all click, and he thinks that it most likely will click whenever Billy is gone himself. He thinks that Peyton's going to be the one to take over that room. Man, that just does nothing but get me excited. Phil Steele had Oklahoma's secondary room ranked as number 2 in the country, which is number 1 in the SEC. something to be excited about, because that means that we got some talent in that room.
Yeah, it's not just Billy Bowman. It's Peyton Bowen. It's Robert Spears-Jennings. And then you can even go down the line with Jaden Hardy and Michael Boganowski and Reggie Powers and Michael Patterson-McDonald. And, hey, Cade McIntyre. I think this is the one that – not Cade McIntyre. Eric McCarty. Sorry.
Yeah, Eric McCarty.
Cade McIntyre is the tight end. Eric McCarty, McAllister kid. You've got a lot of talent in that safety room that Brandon Hall has put together. But I'm really excited about the three safety looks that we have the potential of seeing in 2024 with Bowen, and with Robert Spears-Jennings. What's great about it is you've got diverse skill sets. You've got a Peyton Bowen who is going to be able to range the middle of the field. He's going to be great in coverage. He's great instinctually. He's got those coverage skills. He was like this close to multiple interceptions last year, but we saw what he's able to do on special teams with the punt blocks. Like, that is incredible. That takes great instincts and timing and agility and athleticism to make that happen. And then with Robert Spears-Jennings, great box safety, a dude that can play around the line of scrimmage. He's not the size of a linebacker, but he thumps like a linebacker. I mean, he gets downhill in a hurry, and we've seen it in his first couple of years with Oklahoma. You go back to the 2022 season, and he's chasing down Jason Bean running out of the sideline, and he just hits him hard. Like, Bean's not out of bounds yet, so he makes sure to lay a thick lick on him as he's going out of bounds. And we saw it again last year when given opportunities in a rotational role. So really, really excited about what they're going to bring, both of those guys this year. Who knows exactly who's going to get those quote unquote starter reps, but I think we'll see them both in situations. Robert Spears-Jennings probably is going to be your base package safety, being able to play in the box a little bit, help support in the run. And then when it's 3rd and long, 3rd and 7+, you're probably going to see more Peyton Bowen, because he's going to be able to provide you something in covering tight ends, covering guys out of the slot. He's kind of an extra cheetah that you can put out on the field. So it gives them a lot of options at safety, depending on the down and distance, the situation in the game. I mean, if you're up 2-3 scores in a game, you're going to see a lot of Peyton Bowen, because teams are going to be trying to throw to get back in the game. And that's where he excels, is in coverage.
Absolutely. And even better with the way Zach Alley does things. He's infamous for throwing out a 3 safety, set up 3 safety high. And like you said, seeing all 3 of them out there at the same time, man, I'm terrified for other defenses, right? That's other offenses trying to figure out how to get around those guys, because they're so athletic too, right? And they're all sizey, right? I think Billy's the shortest of all of them or whatnot, because he's 5'11". The rest of them are all over 6 feet. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge to try to figure out how to throw it over them with their long arms and their ability and liking to hit. That's the one thing I've noticed about Venables and staff, especially Jay Valai and the players and him and Brandon Hall go after. The guy have to do is they like to hit people. They want thumpers. Right. I love that. Something that we miss here at Oklahoma are guys getting leveled on a regular basis, just physicality overall. We're getting that back. And so just be prepared that this safety room's it's not gonna be a surprise for most, right? We all knew that this was gonna come, but they're gonna be elite this coming season.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. You're going to see a lot of plays being made in the back end and around the line of scrimmage, because, again, Robert Spears-Jennings, Billy Bowman, they know how to make plays around the line of scrimmage as well. We're probably going to see some Woody Washington at safety. Wouldn't be surprised to see some of the younger guys like Reggie Powers and Jaden Hardy and Michael Boganowski get some reps, especially early in the season in non-conference play. But it's a deep, deep room, and you can see these guys are committed to the process, and they're committed to what needs to happen in order to be great. And again, having Billy Bowman back, you cannot say enough about his decision to return for one more year and what it means for Oklahoma's safety room. Because listen, you would be pretty good, but you wouldn't have the experience. You wouldn't have that leadership capabilities that you have right now. You'd have probably had to go to the portal and get a transfer safety to at least give you a solid floor with some experience, or you would have had to move Woody Washington full time over to safety. With Billy Bowman, you've got an All-American coming back that gives you that experience, gives you that playmaking ability, and you're set up. I mean, the next several years of safety play is just set up perfectly, and it's all because Billy Bowman decided to come back. So Safety room is going to be exciting playmaking group, and we're excited to watch it. We'll talk more about other position groups over the next few weeks as we get ready for fall camp. But on the recruiting trail, the Oklahoma Sooners are still building that 2025 recruiting class. Floyd Boucard trending toward Oklahoma. Let's discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. All of our recruiting segments here on the Locked On Network are brought to you by LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Again, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So Floyd Boucard, a player who has been kind of all over the map, both literally and predictively as well. All the predictions have just kind of been all over the place. But on Wednesday night, the Sooners seemingly got a little bit of a foot in the door as Tom Loy and I'm blanking on the other dude's name.
It's Brandon Doan, Dohn, as well as Colin Kennedy.
All right, so you got three of them, one local, one Tom Loy, who, man, he's been pretty accurate of late. He has not missed as far as I've been able to tell. He had the offensive lineman that just committed to Missouri.
Lamont Rogers.
Yeah, he had Lamont Rogers going to Mizzou, kind of there at the end. So Floyd Boucard, 3-star in most places, a 4-star over at Rivals, top 20 interior defensive line prospect, 6'3", 315 pounds, a dude that would be a difference maker for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Absolutely. And the one thing about him, he's consensus and composite 3-star. So he's 3-star on 3 on their consensus piece. Same thing with 247, 4-star for Rivals. But the one thing I like to preach sometimes when it comes to what I'd like to preach overall when it comes to star ratings is to not only look at the stars, but look at the offer list. Look at what teams actually have interest in said recruit. And now this one, my goodness, his list is long. So for him to be considered a 3-star, prospect, it's crazy to see that Alabama's up there. In his top 4, he had Alabama, Oklahoma, USC, and Miami, right? So he's like, okay, cool. That sounds interesting. Who else is the ones that jump out? Well, when you go down this list, you've got Florida State. You've got Georgia. You got Cincinnati, who's put out some pretty good defensive linemen, especially over the last few years. LSU, Louisville. You've got Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Missouri, Oregon, South Carolina, right? Auburn, Arkansas. Basically, most of the SEC, Michigan State's on the list. All the schools that you would expect to go after a high caliber and a defensive lineman with a lot of upside, they're on the list of offers. That means that they all had him on their radar, and they recognize it because I think the reason why he's there at 3-star, he's from Montreal, Quebec. He's from Canada. And he just moved to Miami Central, I think this coming season, to play football. He's played hockey most of his life, so he's super physical. Those dudes are physical. And he hasn't been playing football for very long. He's got like 2 years of football under his belt? Makes sense for people to have questions, but walking in at a roughly 6'3", 315 pounds, oh yeah, he's a player that you want to have, especially in the SEC. He has a leg up just because he already has the size. Playing hockey, he's probably got the strength to go along with it. And yeah, Oklahoma wins this one. Whew, this is a nice W. Yeah, and this is a kid, if you played hockey or roller hockey or whatever, you understand that conditioning is a huge, huge component to playing those sports. So I have no doubt that Floyd Boucard is a well-conditioned athlete, and you have to be pretty athletic. You have to be really nimble on your feet. And that's going to be fascinating to watch, to see what his development looks like, because he's going to have good feet. You have to, because you have to be able to pick up your skates and put them down. You got to be able to be smooth on your feet on the ice. Otherwise, you're going to not be able to play. And the fact that he's already going to be coming to the collegiate level with good feet, now it's just a matter of working on hand technique, hand placement, playing with leverage, all that stuff. But again, a lot of those things will have come from playing hockey, playing with leverage, being able to stay on your stick while somebody's draped all over you. That kind of stuff matters. Also, I can't imagine Floyd Boucard coming down the ice at me as I'm playing goalie and the dude's about to shoot on me, or if I'm a forward trying to get into the zone and he's playing defense. That just sounds ridiculous. Hopefully one day we get to ask him about that, because I grew up, I'm a hockey fan, aficionado, got to see Gretzky in the Great Western Forum with the LA Kings in the Stanley Cup playoffs back in 1993. Love hockey, love hockey. Family loves hockey. My dad grew up in the Northeast. So one day I will ask Floyd Boucard about his hockey experience, because that will be super fun. But adding to what
Oklahoma's already done along the defensive line, like he would be a really, really great addition. You mentioned the offer sheet. If I was Tony Reale and we were on Around the Horn, I'd be hitting the up button on that every like crazy. Follow the offers. If Alabama is offering, that means something. If LSU is offering, that means something. If Brent Venables is offering, it means something. It means something. These offers mean something. If he's a take for Brent Venables and Todd Bates, it means something. It means that he can play.
Exactly. That's the guarantee, right? He may not camp. That's usually what happens with a lot of guys with lower rankings is they don't camp a lot. Mm-hmm. But somebody saw them and said, "Oh no, that's somebody." And then you see the rank, you see the offer start to rack up of all these schools going after him. Like, "Oh no, we want to throw our name in the hat. Let's see if there's a chance." Yeah, that's where you see that. Even better part about him too is because he's not from that area. Everybody was a heavy lean Miami initially because he's at Miami Central, which is a feeder school to the University of Miami. Very common. Miami Central's been sending players outside of that area, outside of University of Miami as of late. But at the same time, he's not from there. He's just there. He's a transplant. So when you have transplants like that, it's not something that's a guarantee that they're going to stay at the local school. And that's something to always keep in mind in recruiting. You got to pay attention to those type of tea leaves. That's the ones I look at. I'm trying to find the detail. What's the one thing that makes me think that nobody has a chance to get them away from the local team? And in this situation, luckily, because he's coming from Canada down, yeah, he's completely fair game for everybody. I mean, he had USC on his list, and that's across the country. So obviously he's just like, I don't mind moving away. Why not? And so luckily I saw that Alabama at one point was surging. I saw a couple notes fly across the X-Bird or whatnot and made me wonder, if it's Alabama going to walk in here and snatch this up. But with the latest set of crystal balls, I'm pretty confident that we're going to see him, rocking the crimson and cream.
Yeah. And this is, again, let's just talk about the defensive line group that Oklahoma's already had created and committed into the 2025 class. You get CJ Nixon, a top 100 player. Kamari Moore at defensive tackle. I think he's kind of this year's Jaden Jackson, a dude that's really flown under the radar. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it because he committed so early and people just kind of quit evaluating him. But I think he has a chance to be a really, really good player. Alexander Shield Knight, in-state kid from out western Oklahoma, and Trent Wilson, the big Marlboro, Maryland defensive tackle as well. So this is a really intriguing group that when you combine it with what you did in 2024, we're starting to see Oklahoma cooking with gas along the defensive line and with what they're doing. And I say just 2024, but go back to 2023 as well with PJ Adebaware and Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong. Like they've got something cooking right now along the defensive line.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a nice amount of defensive linemen that we got enough projects and we've got the ready-made guys as well, right? So having Dejon Terry as well as Dominic Williams, and they're two guys that have proven and played. I mean, Dejon has played in the SEC, being at Tennessee at one point of his career. And then having Dominic, who, playing at TCU, was a freshman All-American, went to the national championship game, was basically the lead person in that middle. You got your veteran presence there, and then you've got the young guys with Jaden Jackson as well as David Stone that just got in there. We'll see what they look like. And then you got guys in the middle that are some projects, some ready to play, Grayson Halton as well as, Champ Sanders and Marcus Strong. You've got guys they're some that are learning, but at the same time potentially could be playing. Devon Sears, he's ready to go out there and break out. So we're starting to do a good job of building up that room. And then plus, we're going after players like a Floyd Boucard who gets you 300 pounds walking in the door. You don't have to build him up to that. He's already there. He's ready. He's SEC size. Now he just has to show that he has SEC skill. Yeah.
Now you're going to do the Jerry Schmidt, break you down a little bit, get some of the good weight back on. And I mean, if he's already 315, what's to say he can't be 330 by the time he's an upperclassman at OU?
That's true. Oh,
and
man,
become
if he's athletic too, like you said, as a hockey kid, he shows his athleticism. There's a good chance, man. They could probably get him up to 320, 330, and he could be just super nimble and light on his feet. Oh God, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Throw that at nose tackle, and I think you got something really special, potentially with Floyd Boucard. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Also, go check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel over on YouTube. It's now also available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Hey, also, if you're here with us now and you're still listening here deep into the third segment, go check out the Locked On Sooners Insider program. I will answer your questions. If you throw them out there, you will get a response directly from me. You don't even have to wait. I don't always see the YouTube comments. I don't always see the Twitter replies immediately, but I see your responses, your questions in the Locked On Sooners Insider program. So you can do that. You can text SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711 to get 25% off your first month. Again, that's 405-817-6711. Text SEC 2024 to get 25% off your first month in the Locked On Sooners Insider program. We'll do special Q&As for our Locked On Sooners Insiders specifically. We have great content over there as well. Go check it out. Again, 405-817-6711. Follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports. Follow myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the socials. But again, thank you so much for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. But until next time, he's Jay. I'm John. Boomer Sooner.